LOD Limited Office with Design Review Zone. So that's a CFH 23-104, PUD 2332, and SUB 2341. We are recommending approval, but we will be hearing that as there are some oppositions to some approval conditions. Was there something, did I miss something up here? No? Okay. And then item 2, we received a request today to defer that, and that is, sorry, it's not split on 2 pages. PUD 2331, as well as SUB 2339 for Boise Christian Homes. It was a CUP for residential plan development comprised of 74 multifamily units on 8.3 acres in an R1C zone with an accompanying preliminary plat. We are recommending approval on that, but again, we got that request to defer, and we are recommending a deferral to a date certain of July 8th. And that is the evening. Questions?
Short and sweet. Okay.
Okay. We'll see you guys at 6.
All right. Thanks, Crystal.
All right. I hate to interrupt this very important conversation, but good evening and welcome to the Boise City Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing. Just a couple things to start off with before tonight's proceedings. Everyone from the public entering the hearing virtually has been automatically muted and cannot speak. As the item you're interested in comes up for discussion, you'll be called upon and unmuted. There is a chat function in Zoom. However, this is not part of the record and should only be used if technical difficulties arise. Our procedures for public hearing begin with a presentation from the planning team. Then we'll go to the applicant and then the representative of the Registered Neighborhood Association, followed by questions from the commission. After that, we proceed to public testimony, starting with those who are in person, then who signed up on the sign-up sheet in advance, and then anyone else who raises their hand virtually. If you're attending through your telephone, you can just type in *9 to raise your hand. Each member of the public is allowed up to 3 minutes for testimony. We are strict with this time as it is limited in code. Finally, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal, after which the hearing will be closed and the commission will deliberate and render a decision. Mr. Chair, you have the floor.
Thank you, Crystal. Good evening, everybody. We are citizen volunteers appointed by the mayor and approved by city council. We make final decisions on conditional use permits, variances and appeals, and recommendations to city council on subdivisions, rezones, annexations, and code or comprehensive plan amendments. Any decision made tonight may be appealed to city council, provided that the appeal is filed within 10 days of this hearing. In order to file an appeal, you must have given either written or oral testimony at tonight's meeting. That's why it's important to give your name and address when you testify tonight. We utilize a consent agenda. This means that if the applicant agrees with the staff report and if there is no public opposition, the item is placed on the consent agenda. All items that are placed on the consent agenda are then approved with one motion without further public comment. For items not on the consent agenda, we will hold a full public hearing in the order detailed a few minutes ago with staff, applicant, and neighborhood association presentations, and then followed by public testimony. Thank you all for attending. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Schaefer,
Yes, here, sorry.
Danley,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Mooney, Seha, Torres,
Here.
Doan,
Here.
6 present, 2 absent.
Okay, thank you. Short agenda tonight. Up first, we do have one item that would like to be deferred, so we'll take up that item first. This is PUD 23-31, Chrysalis Architecture. Project address is 3223 North 36th Street. There's also SUB 23-39. It's called Boise Christian Homes Village Subdivision. This is a conditional use permit for a residential plan development and a preliminary plat for said development at the project address. And is the applicant present? Okay. And I understand you would like to defer this item to July 8th. Is that correct? Okay, very good. And is there anyone in attendance tonight hoping to testify regarding this item that cannot attend our meeting on July 8th? Okay. Very good. At this point, I'll entertain a motion regarding this item, or these items.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Daly.
I'll make a motion that item number 2, PUD 23-31, a conditional use permit application, and SUB 23-39, a preliminary plat application, be deferred to the July 8th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Chris. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, very good. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Schaefer,
Yes.
Danley,
Yep.
Gillespie,
Yes.
More?
Moore,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Very good. Okay, we'll see you on July 8th. Thanks. All right, and then real quick consent agenda without objection. I'll go ahead and place our consent agenda is really going to be meeting minutes. So I'll place our planning and zoning work session meeting minutes from May 13th, our commission meeting minutes from May 13th, our work session minutes from May 6th, and our commission meeting minutes from May 6th on the consent agenda. I apologize. Those were in reverse date order. And I believe that does it for consent tonight. Can I entertain a motion on consent?
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Commissioner Danley.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda consisting of Planning and Zoning Commission workshop meeting minutes from May 13th and commission meeting minutes from May 13th, as well as work session meeting minutes from the 6th of May and commission meeting minutes also from the 6th of May.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Danley. And do I have a second on consent?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Torres. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Schaefer,
Yes.
Danley,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
All right. Excellent. Thank you all. And now we'll move on to our lone remaining item tonight, or items. Item number 1, CFH 23-104, PUD 23-32, and SUB 23-41. Centurion Engineers at project address is 5402 West Overland Road. It's also called Brown Terrace Subdivision or Braun Terrace Subdivision. This is a Category 3 hillside development permit, a conditional use permit for a residential plan development, and a preliminary and final plat for said development. First, we're going to hear from staff, Mr. David Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. First, I'd like to note these applications are based on the legacy code and not the modern zoning code. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a mixed-use plan unit development comprised of 6 detached single-family homes along Philippi Street, and the applicant is proposing to keep the existing office building along Overland. In addition, there's a Cat 3 hillside application for the grading and drainage associated with the 7 buildable lot, 2 common lot subdivision. The site is 1.2 acres in size and located at 5402 West Overland Road in an LOD, limited office with design review, and an R2 medium-density residential zone. The area is primarily comprised of detached single-family homes and apartments adjacent to the north and northwest. Commercial uses comprised of office, retail, and a large childcare facility are adjacent to the east, west, and south along Overland Road. The subject property is also adjacent to Community Activity Center located at the intersection of Overland and Orchard Street. The north half of the site is located in a hillside zone that is with steep topography sloping down to the north. The site plan here shows the proposed grading and drainage for the site for the construction of the common drive and sidewalk. In addition, the single-family homes will be terraced into the hillside with the houses daylighting to the east or towards Philippi Street. This site plan shows the parcel layout for the subdivisions and the proposed conceptual building footprints on site. As you can see, the residential parcels are irregular in shape and range in size from roughly 3,400 to 5,100 square feet. Please note these buildable areas for the lots does not include the poles that connect the back parcel back to the street. The LO and R2 zones require a 50-foot wide lot. As such, the development is requesting reduced lot sizes and widths. In addition, the conceptual houses designs are 2 to 4 stories in height and range between 2,700 to 4,800 square feet in size. Due to the small parcel size and large lot size, reduced interior setbacks are requested. These reduced interior setbacks are shown on this plan as marked in red and blue. The reduced setbacks marked in blue are supported by the planning team, which include the front setbacks along Philippi Street and also for the trash enclosure for the commercial lot. These reduced interior setbacks are supported since the common lots will give the appearance of a front yard setback for the houses abutting Philippi Street. The reduced interior setbacks marked in red are not supported by the planning team. The main concern is that they're not providing enough separation between these large houses on these smaller regular shaped lots could create the appearance of a large building mass on the subject property. That is not consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. The easiest solution would be to adjust the size of the buildings. The amount of the proposed reduced setbacks are listed within the project report itself. The applicant will improve the adjacent street frontages along Overland Road with a 5-foot wide detached sidewalk, 8-foot landscape buffer, and a 7-foot wide attached sidewalk along Philippi Street. As required by the Highway District, Overland Road sidewalk will connect back onto the existing sidewalks adjacent to the site and will comply with ADA standards or PROAG standards. The permanent right-of-way easements will be provided for this detached sidewalk. The landscape buffer along Overland Road will contain Class 2 trees planted every 40 feet. And the proposed 7-foot attached sidewalk is acceptable along Philippi Street due to the site's topography and the Marathon pipeline which runs adjacent to the property. Any landscaping within the Marathon pipeline easement will be limited and street trees are prohibited. Also, the existing parking lot for the office building will be adjusted in size to accommodate the residential development and will be required to be improved to comply with design review standards. This slide here shows examples of the building elevations consisting of the 4-story building and a 2-story building. The buildings are required to comply with the 30-foot height limit as measured from adjacent grade, and this will require the buildings to be terraced back into the hillside to match the existing topography. In summary, the project does comply with all the perimeter setbacks. It provides the 2 site amenities, and with conditions, it will comply with all the required findings as per code. Therefore, the planning team recommends the commission recommend approval of the subdivision to council and approve the plan unit development category 3 hillside. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, David. Next, we'll hear from the applicant team.
Thank you. My name's Joe Canning with Centurion Engineers, 2323 South Vista Avenue here in Boise, suite number 206. Very pleased to be here tonight. This has been a while.
Welcome back.
I've been working on this for 3 years, so
Okay.
we're finally here. Appreciate that. And a lot of the lengthy process of getting here was the hillside requirements. It took a while to work through that with the public works staff, but I think we're there. And I'd like to say I'm also here tonight with the applicant, Cameron Brown. He is here tonight. And we have a great staff report. I mean, I can't really complain about it. David's working on it for a long time. This is the first staff report I've seen from Boise in quite a while that has all the agency comments in it. So that's appreciated. We have a good idea what we need to do up front, including the irrigation folks that weighed in on this project. So this is much appreciated. Sometimes we go in with holes and we have to fill it in after it's started. It's a little more difficult, so we appreciate that. However, we do disagree with one particular comment or condition in the staff report, and that's what I want to talk about tonight. And that is site-specific condition approval number 2 on page 17. And essentially, it's the last sentence there that says all other interior setbacks shall comply with the development code standards. That's the one I really want to talk about. And it's kind of all summarized in a table on page 9 of the staff report that covers all the setbacks that's on this project. So that table's appreciated. And once again, we concur with all the recommendations in the staff report, including the recommendation for interior side yards, which has gone up to 5 feet from our original proposal. We're in agreement with that. It's just the comment on rear yard setbacks for lots 3 and 8 to be 15 feet. And then the front yard setbacks for lots 4 and 7 to be 15 feet. Those are the ones we're concerned about. So I'd like to spend a minute and just talk about the site rather quickly. And David, are you able to put up that rendering drawing Well, I like the one that had the colors as far as kind of green for all the landscaping.
Which one?
It's none of those. I saw it in the packet. Not that one.
May not have it.
Oh. Can you load it? I thought I saw it in there, but. Well, while David's looking at that, I'll continue. That is rather important. The one with the setbacks on it would work. David, if that's the one that's available.
Is that the one you want?
That's the one, yes. That's it. A little bit small there, but that's the one. So just a few quick things. So Hillcrest Shopping Center directly to the northwest or to the northeast of the project, and north is to the left on this drawing. And then the City Hillcrest Library is in the Hillcrest Shopping Center. So that's a great asset to the project. We appreciate that being there. Philippi Park, a city park, is located to the south. And then a few comments on the development itself. Philippi Street is a collector. So the goal is to minimize access points to that. So that's, the site is only about 170 feet deep from Philippi to at its widest point. So this is not a very deep piece of property. So to get that access to Philippi, we created that compressed T turnaround. So we could get all the accesses to that one point of connection, at least for the home development at Philippi. As David mentioned, the Marathon Pipeline is on the west side of Philippi. That is an issue with this development. Those folks are very protective of that. And the site is a hillside with approximately 40 feet of vertical rise from the northeast corner on Philippi to the southwest corner on Overland. That is notable. And almost all of that vertical rise in the area proposed, it contains the 6 single-family homes. The homes, with the exception of Lot 8, are planned to be set back into the hillside, so no retaining walls will be needed. The homes will be the retaining walls. So this is an idea of cutting a hole in, setting the home back in. We think that's going to be quite attractive, and it's fairly, I'll say fairly easy to construct, but easier than putting in a bunch of retaining walls. South side of Lot 8 will be filled some to connect to the internal T turnaround because that's the lowest part of the property. Notable final elevation changes will exist between the driveway at the home garages and the back of the homes. As the homes are set back into the terrain, the height of the homes along the west and the south and the west side of the property will only be about 1 to 1.5 stories tall. That's part of the advantage of this. We can make the back view of these homes actually quite short because of that hillside. The homes are generally set on the site to maximize view corridors to and from the homes. The view is to the northeast. And to minimize extra earth moving to assure no exterior retaining walls in the home areas. The hillside really is driving all of this site design. The average lot area for homes in this is slightly under the minimum lot size in the R2 zone. It's about 4,800 square foot for the average on these lots. And of course, the R2 zone is 5,000 square foot. And I just want to point that out because on a standard 5,000 foot R2 lot, adhering to all the normal setbacks, 5-foot side, 15-foot front, 15-foot front, or 15-foot front with the garage, 15-foot rear, the home could be 2,600 square feet in area for the footprint. I think that's rather important to point out. Within the R2 zone, the standard requirement is that the home can be constructed to a height of 35 feet. This project has the following home footprints. Lot 3 is about 1,510 square feet. Lot 2 is 1,112 square feet. Lot 5 is 1,910 square feet. Lot 6 is 2,260 square feet. So Lot 6 is getting close to that max. Lot 7, 1,700 square feet, and Lot 6 is 1,340 square feet. All well below the allowable footprint in the R2 zone. The home sites will not exceed 35 feet, which is allowed in the R2 zone. Agreed, the multi-stories will make the overall home area much larger, but that is due to the notable hillside slopes. The higher floors will step back into the hillside. The goal again is to integrate the development into the hillside. Currently, there's approximately 16 feet between the homes on lots 3 and 4. Site-specific condition number approval would increase that to 30 feet, nearly deleting the west portion of the home on lot 3. That lot 3 has a footprint of 1910 square feet. Currently, there's approximately 24 feet between the homes of lots 7 and 8, and site-specific condition approval number 2 would increase that to 30 feet. Homes will have patios elevated above the ground floor. You might have seen that in those cross sections of the homes. So the real outdoor living area of these homes is going to be that elevated patio area. And that's to make most advantage of the view. And also the side slopes on these homes is going to be fairly steep. So there's not really an opportunity to use that outside area as a living area per se. It will be landscape, but you can't really use it to occupy and have fun on, so to speak. So we want you to please look at the layout, visualize the hillside and how these homes will slip into the hillside, and agree that the building separation shown makes sense. We're really talking about those front rear yard setbacks on those 4 lots. We request the Planning and Zoning Commission approve this project per the staff report with the following changes. The distances between the homes on 3 and 4 be a minimum of 16 feet, and the distance between homes 7 and 8 be a minimum of 24 feet. And please notice, like on that southwest home lot, how we've turned that home. That's to make the most advantage of that view corridor out to the northeast. But the only corner that's close to that one to the east of it is, it's a point. It's a very sharp corner of that home that's close to that other structure there. So I think that's it. We just like to change those particular requirements for those 4 lots. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Canning. We'll sit tight on questions for 1 minute. First, we're going to check in with the neighborhood association, see if they're present.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. I guess Mr. Mansfield here from the central bench. Nope, not with us. Okay. All right, we'll open up for questions by the commission then. Any takers?
Mr. Chairman, I'll ask one.
Commissioner Danley, please.
I think this will probably be for the applicant. But David, if you can answer this is fine too. I'm just curious, what is the physical separation at its nearest point between building number 5 or home number 5, I guess, between 5 and 6, and then 6 and 7? They look pretty darn tight. So I'm curious what those closest points might be.
So I'm sorry, Commissioner, Chairman Schaefer, Commissioner Danley, those were which spots again? 5?
Between 5 and 6, and then between 6 and 7.
From the lot lines, those will be 5 feet each. This particular layout was done when we were requesting a narrower point.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Commissioner, are you good, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Gillespie.
David, I have a question for you. So the applicant just said that this is an old chart. And I'm just wondering about the data on table 1, where we're talking about, for sort of the middle section of that table, required 5 feet, proposed 4 feet. So did the applicant just infer that every place where it says 4 feet for proposed and 5 feet required, he's met that requirement, or what did you just infer?
Chairman Schaefer, Commissioner Gillespie, these drawings were done before. Those were widened out to 5 feet each. We have no issue with those particular increases in that table. So they would be 5 feet.
So if we look at this table 1, could you pull up
Yeah, we
table
do.
1? So if we just think of them, starting at the top, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 12 rows in this table, and you seem to be saying that you're complying with row 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. You're in compliance with the requirement. Is
We
that
will be.
correct?
We do not have an issue with those being a condition of approval, correct?
Okay. So if we look at, again, referencing this chart, so does that mean your problem is so rows 1 and 2, the city's, I think, okay with what you propose. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, if they're going, it sounds like a late correspondence came in with a corrected plan. So after I assembled this,
Okay.
this is this is
Yeah.
on the old one.
I'm
It
okay.
sounds like they're willing to meet the 5-foot side yard setbacks. now.
Right. So all the 5 foots are okay. The first 2 rows, row 1 and 2, the city's okay with what they propose. That's why it's in green. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Correct.
And then the 11th row is also in green. So you're okay with that 0-foot setback on lot 8 at the row 11. So what this commission is hearing a dispute over is row 3, row 4, and row 9. So only and the last row, row 12, by 1 foot. So is that correct? I'm just trying to figure it out. Like,
Mr. Chair, members of
what
the
are we
commission,
really discussing here?
The point of discussion for the reduced setbacks is the front and rear setback for the lot. So it'd be the rear setback for row 3, the rear setback for lot 3, and then the front setback for lot 4. And then it would be the front setback for lot 7 and the rear setback for lot 8. If my understanding is correct.
Okay, yeah, so I like, because I haven't been looking at this at all, like you have for years. I don't know the lots. I'm just looking at rows in a table, pal. So our dispute here again is just those 4 rows. So we have a difference between 15 and 7, 15 and 9, 15 and 10, and 15 and 14. Is that's it, right? Because all the other ones were, where it's 5 and 4, we're okay, and where it's green, we're okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, that is essentially correct. So for between two of the lots, instead of a 30-foot, they're proposing a 16-foot separation. And for the other 2 lots, when they need a 30-foot, they're proposing a 20-foot or 24-foot separation.
Some of them, yeah. Well, one of them, the row 3 and row 4, we need 30. He's proposing 14 and 18. So in total, like double, the total separation is double the setback, right?
Yeah, they're about 15 or 14 feet shy of where they should be for that one.
Right.
They're closer on the other.
Mhm. So that's a lot, Mr. Applicant. That's a big ask. I'll let you sit on that and let other people ask questions.
Yeah, maybe David, could you pull up that other graphic where you highlighted
The red one?
with the red, just so everybody can look at that again.
So it's here, here.
Okay. Any other questions, gang, while we're,
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Torres, please.
my question's in a completely different direction. So if anybody else has questions about setbacks or separation, feel free to jump in before me, but.
Let's do it. Let's mix it up a little bit. We can
Okay.
return back to this question.
So my question's for the applicant, although staff can probably weigh in as well. As you know, one of the biggest concerns in Boise right now is affordability. Can you give us a rough idea of what you anticipate these houses would probably go for?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Torres, I cannot, the applicant is here tonight, if you'd like to direct that to him.
Yes, please. You,
So they've asked us to design these houses before we've even built the subdivision. And so we've put money into designing the houses as for David, so that he could see what houses are going on these. Most developers don't design houses that are going to be put on their lots, on every lot, because of the lots are not rectangular. And so I don't know what their true value is going to be. I typically let the market determine that. We just went through a major high. We've come way off of that. So how to ascertain what they would sell for, I couldn't really tell you right now, and where the market's going to be in 6 months. Does that help you?
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, it's Mr. Brown, I think, right? You mind just for the record, please, for the people online, just
it's
your
Cameron
name and
Brown.
address.
Cameron Brown, Turner Century Homes, the developer of this product.
Okay.
So,
Good, thank you. Oh, sorry, address. I'm sorry. Sorry, I got your business, but not your address. Thank you.
This address is the office, 5402 West Overland Road.
Great, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and
Mhm.
Commissioner Torres, I would just like to add a little bit to that. I will say affordability will be a tough on this one. The earthwork requirements are going to be pretty immense. So that in itself is going to be quite expensive just to do the earthwork required on this project. Hopefully you've seen it. It's a very small site, but it's very notable with this hillside. It's just the houses have about 35 feet of rise across that property. It's pretty notable.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have another question.
Yeah, please.
If no one else does.
Mm-hmm.
My question is both for the applicant and for staff. On page, let me find the page here real quick. Page 86 of our packet. There's the section where the staff report says, in general, a higher density residential development would be preferred in this location adjacent to a community activity center. However, the proposed density of 8.2 units per acre is compatible and consistent with single-family residential neighborhood with a single-family residential neighborhood to the west, and it will create a transition between this neighborhood and the Hillcrest Shopping Center adjacent to the east. I guess my question is, I understand this is under the legacy code. I understand it is allowed, it's an allowed use. But was there any thought of putting more units in there? I know it's a small site, but being right adjacent to a major thoroughfare, a transit corridor, an activity center, it feels like in some ways it's a negative or a loss to not build something more dense there to provide more housing. And either one of you can go first.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the staff did actually have that conversation with the applicant in the initial, like, is there a possibility of doing a variety of different type of products, maybe townhomes instead of detached, something of that nature. It's a difficult site in some ways, and obviously the staff would love to see a higher density here, but the topography is challenging on the site to make it work and to pencil. Not to say that you couldn't get a multifamily or an apartment on the site, but the topography does make the site challenging in that aspect.
And Mr. Chair, if I may,
Mhm.
Commissioner Torres. Yeah, the applicant originally considered some higher density use here. The issue became because of the hillside and earthwork required parking became a concern during the initial homeowners meeting, the neighborhood meeting. The folks to the west were very happy to see that we were proposing single family homes because that does match what's there. And they were also very happy to hear that we had relatively shorter homes, at least what they're going to be seeing. They were quite happy about that. They were not thrilled about higher density. Of course, that is a common calling we get at all the neighborhood meetings we go to, but this seemed to be a good match for this particular site.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Commissioner Moore, please. I saw your hand up. I'm sorry.
No worries. I think this is a question probably for the applicant. So there's 4 lots, basically. that are at question, lots 3, 4, 7, and 8. But these houses, based on the staff report, are pretty big. I mean, they range anywhere from 2,600 square feet to over 4,000 square feet, which is pretty sizable. How big are the proposed units on those lots, just as currently drawn? I understand they may change to some extent.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Moore, I'm not sure the actual footprint of the proposed homes. The applicant may know that. I do know the footprints are pretty small. These are tall, but the footprints are pretty small. So that's part of the problem. If we start lopping off chunks of this buildable area, they start decreasing in size considerably. That lot number 3 is a great example. If that has a 30-foot setback from the home to the west, basically that whole side of that west unit's going to be gone. And you kind of get an idea how huge that setback is if you see that. It's enormous, even though these, are literally the front and rear yards of these homes. Effectively, they're almost side yards because we're really orienting these homes to orient toward that view back toward Hillcrest Shopping Center and the Boise front. We're trying to make the most of that amenity here. So even though they are front and rear yard setbacks for code, they really will function as a side yard. And particularly considering the slopes on those side yards are going to be about 2 to 1. It's going to be pretty darn steep. So I hope I answered the question.
Jennifer, anything else for you?
I do have another question. So
Please.
one of the other asks is about the height. And so I think I'm understanding correctly, but I want to make sure that I understand the full kind of ask of the height. So, well, from what I understand, the total height from lowest finished floor to upper roof is 45 feet. Our max in the R2 zone is 35 feet. But the kind of adjacent grade at the kind of the residential level, I guess the level with the homes adjacent to it, is about 10 feet higher. So your effective grade adjacent to the R2 is 35 feet. Is that kind of generally correct? That's what I'm kind of understanding.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Moore, that is correct. And how we plan on doing that, originally these homes were to be higher. And after discussing the project with Mr. Mosier, we decided to, and I think it's an add to the project, is the maximum height will be 35 feet. That is measured at finished grade. So on all these units, it's essentially the garage doors. That's where that will be measured from. And what will happen is it'll go up a maximum of 35 feet, and then there'll be a terrace or a patio at the maximum. That steps back quite a ways, back further into the hillside. And then the other story might go on top of that. So the maximum height will be 35 feet.
Mr. Chair.
Mhm.
Just one more question. So this is for staff related to kind of the massing point about, increasing the separation in order to make the buildings not appear as one large mass. And so it looks like if I'm looking at our packet page 26, and I think it's the one exhibit that Mr. Canning had shown. I'm looking at 4 buildings that are pretty close together, and then there's building 8 and building 3 that's a little bit further apart away. So in my mind, kind of depending on your viewpoint, I'm wondering if, especially buildings 4, 5, 6, and 7, or I guess lots 4, 5, 6, and 7, those may appear as one mass, but maybe, 8 and 3 are far enough away that that's got that separation. Mr. Moser, is that kind of are you kind of in agreement with that, or do you think that that's not quite enough? That's kind of the general consensus.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, to break up the mass, I was really looking at in some degrees, I was kind of looking at the side yards to actually create a separation between the two. I think initially these were going to be a little bit closer than the 5 feet. And And then at that point, given the odd angles, you wouldn't be able to see the separation. It's sort of like the buildings would sort of blend into each other, which is what I was afraid of. If we're going to provide the 5-foot separation on the side yards, that's great. Then it's just a matter of trying to, what to do with these with the front and back side setbacks for those lots on either end. That's not, if you're on Philippi Street looking directly at this, maybe that's not directly apparent. You'd have to maybe look at an angle to see, but would like to see some separation or to provide some open space on the site if possible, which is why I was hoping that these site or the buildings could maintain the required setbacks, if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. And that's all from me.
Thanks, Commissioner Moore. David, I don't recall in the packet, are we fire sprinkling these buildings or are they just standard construction?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I'd have to look at the fire department letter offhand. I don't remember what they said.
Or maybe Mr. Canning, do you recall? Let's say no fire sprinkling. Is that right?
Mr. Chair, I don't specifically recall. I remember we tried to do the site design so that the hose length coming back into that T turnaround would meet the 150-foot requirement the fire department has. However, that doesn't necessarily mean they won't require sprinkling.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. All right. I think we're good on questions. All right. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go ahead and open up this item for public testimony. Got one gentleman signed up ahead of time. Mr. Flowers. Excellent. You want to come on up? Podium is yours. You start your testimony there. You get 3 minutes to testify. If you can start with your name and address, please.
My name is Dennis Flowers, 5811 Randolph Drive.
Okay.
I'm a co-president of the Gray Randolph Water Users Association. And I've been in contact with Mr. Mosier for information about this development. We have a lateral that runs along the west side of this property. And it is the main shutoff for our entire system that feeds currently about 86 homes that are off to the west. And our main weir is at the corner of Randolph and Overland. There's a business with statues on the corner there. And anyway, that's where our main weir is. And this lateral in question runs to the east to the parking lot of the business on the corner there, and then to the north. That's all currently piped in 10-inch pipe. And then at the north end of the parking lot, it turns into an open ditch and then runs along the contour of the property off to the west. And I've spoken with Cameron Brown and been in email contact with Mr. Canning about this. And the thing that I would like to just stress is this is the shutoff for our entire system. And we've had 2 instances to where New York has given us upwards of 80 inches of water, which is way more than we want. And of course, this happens when we get a basketball or dead duck or something in our pipe on down to the west, right? So we want to make sure that this lateral is maintained, number one. And number two, that hopefully if they would like to work on this during the irrigation season, that we can figure out a schedule to where they could work on it. And God forbid we should need to get rid of a bunch of water down it. So that could be a problem. But I would also like to ask that your approval is conditional upon us getting a license agreement that would be drawn up by Bryce Ferris from Sawtooth Law, who is a water attorney and specializes in this kind of thing, just to make sure that our association is covered, the Gray Runoff Water, and we just have documentation on this. And two primary things that I'm after is no
Time.
interruption of water for our users, and we don't have wet houses down the road.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's really all I have. Do you have any questions?
Nope. No questions right now, Mr. Flowers. Appreciate your
Okay.
testimony.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Flowers was the only individual that signed up ahead of time. If you are here and like to testify on this item, the podium is free. Okay, no takers, it looks like. We do have one individual online, staff. Just check in. If you're online and would like to testify on this item, please raise your hand. Okay, very good. Just got an audience here tonight. That's great. We'll go ahead and close public testimony. And now, Mr. Canning, it's your opportunity for some rebuttal.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Yeah, regarding the irrigation, we have been in touch with Mr. Flowers and I did notice that it is included in the staff report already that we have to meet that requirement for the irrigation folks. So it's already in the conditions of approval. And the only other comment I have is please consider some of these setbacks for those 42 units on those front and rear yards. Once again, we think they're really functioning more as a side yard. And they will be quite steep, 2-to-1 slopes on those side yards or rear front yards, whichever way you look at it. We'd surely love to have some relief there to help this project. So thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Canning. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll go ahead and bring these items back before the commission to render a decision. And just as a reminder for everybody, we are recommending to City Council on the plat. So on the SUB portion, we are recommending.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Gillespie, please.
just want to make sure I'm on the right page on my agenda because I had two
It's a long,
items.
it's a long,
And
pa-
I
it's a
got,
long packet
and I
today.
can get confused very easily. Yeah. I move that we approve CFH 23-104, PUD 23-32, and recommend approval to City Council of subdivision 23-41 with all the terms and conditions of the staff report.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Gillespie. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great.
Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Commissioner Doan. And Mr. Gillespie, please.
Just a couple of quick points. One, with respect to the irrigation, generally speaking, I'm not a fan of the commission adding conditions that basically are between two private parties. The city wouldn't be party to that agreement. And so I would encourage us not to add a condition requiring the applicant to reach any agreement with the irrigation district. I think the irrigation district has plenty of legal ammunition on their own to get that agreement. And I'm just not sure that the city can, I'm not sure that, at least for me, that that's wise for us to regulate that agreement. Second, with respect to the setbacks, we're basically talking, again, I talk rows, not buildings, but rows 3, 4, and 9 of table 1, which amounts to the setbacks between 8 and 7 and 3 and I think 4. I'm in agreement with the city. I think particularly in what is already a very, very tight, steep space that we should maintain setbacks as per the code. They're there for many good reasons. And if it turns out that 1 or 2 of these buildings need to be, smaller, not such large homes, then I'm okay with that. We're trying to fit 7 buildings into a very tight space already. We're doing a lot to pack in all these driveways and flag lots. The PUD itself is making, significant exceptions into lot shape and size based on good reason, but it's not like the city isn't already making a lot of setback and shape changes to what we normally would require. So for that reason, I'm going to stick with the staff report.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Gillespie. Any other comments or discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Torres, please.
I'm going to support the motion, and I accept the applicant and David's explanation for why we went with a lower density in this development. I will acknowledge, though, beyond that, again, understanding the reasoning behind it, I am troubled again that we're building so few homes on a major thoroughfare. I do think going forward, we'd like to see more density on these kinds of projects. If you're not building it into a hill or it's not uniquely like this particular situation. Obviously the size of these homes too is not going to contribute much to affordability as we discussed as well.
Mhm.
So I just want to get those things on the record. I'm going to support the motion, but I do think we need to be thinking about those things going forward.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Moore, please.
I'm also in support of the motion. I think, I know that making these smaller is going to be a challenge, but I do think that it could potentially be an even better project because you are providing a greater variety of housing among these units. So it could be a challenge, but I think that it could improve the product overall as well, at least as far as providing a variety of housing and all of that good stuff that the city is also kind of promoting. So I'm in support of the motion as stated.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, any other comments, thoughts? Okay, great. All right. Yeah, I'll be just real quick. I'll be supporting the motion as well. Yeah, it's nice to see some infill product happening at this location. Certainly topography is obviously proving to be a challenge. I agree with Commissioner Torres that it would be nice to see more here, but of course the topography does provide quite the challenge to that. It does help this project blend into the other neighborhood to the west as well. So I'm in support of that approach. Yeah, the setbacks, like Commissioner Gillespie said, I'm in agreement with his comments on that issue. To Mr. Flowers, I appreciate your input on the irrigation lateral. And as Commissioner Gillespie kind of alluded to, we're talking about water right law that really gets up to like, almost like federal level, right, of regulation. So you have protections already in place. And so I'm confident that, the irrigation district will have to work with the applicant. They'll have to approve their design to make sure your delivery is maintained. And in my experience as a landscape architect, a lot of that kind of work does happen in the off season. So they have to maintain your delivery. That's sort of the legalese of it all. And it really does start to get sticky when we start to mandate from here at our little podium at City Hall. So I think you're protected in that regard, but do please keep in touch with the applicant and make sure that you're comfortable with things moving forward.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Downey. Yeah,
Sorry,
please.
just one thing I think is worth pointing out to the applicant is that you came in under the legacy code, and if this doesn't fit your needs, I would encourage you to pause and look at the new code, because I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot more flexibility there. Just easier process, generally speaking, and a product that might ultimately match with what your need is. It's shaking your head. I don't know. I'm not sure, but just saying it might be worth a shot. So.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Good call. Okay, we'll go ahead and call the roll. Again, we've got a motion to approve CFH 23-104 and PUD 23-32 and a recommendation to approve SUB 23-41. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Schaefer,
Yes.
Danley,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. And that concludes our business tonight. We are adjourned.